woke up, snow's blowing sideways, wind's blowing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like looking around going, oh crap, we got no lights, which in our house, that means we got no water
Hmm.
because the well
Yeah,
is attached to
exactly.
the pump. It just creates chaos when you got three daughters that need to get ready for school, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like looking for bottles of water to flush the toilet. It's like you get one flush and then
Yeah.
we're good. So
Hmm.
walk me through my options as far as a generator goes. I think it's time we, do something that way. So what does that look like?
First, we come out and look at where your service is, where your panels are, how big your service is, and gas meter is. Where everything comes in to see where the best place is to put it. With looking at the service, like where your meter is, so know the best way to tie in the generator and give you the better options because there's several different options out there, which I think the best option is a whole house, a whole home, so that when the power goes off, you lose power, you don't have to go around guessing and wondering which circuits are on, or even some others. You don't have to worry about going out and starting your generator,
Mm-hmm.
plugging it in and turning on those breakers, switching that over. With the generators we put in with automatic transfer switch, the power goes out, it kicks on the generator. A couple minutes later, it switches the power back over, and you have power to the whole house.
In that case where I woke up and the
Hmm.
power was out, I would have woke up and not even known the
You wouldn't even
difference.
know the difference.
That's
If you're
awesome.
home during the day and you have the lights on, of course you'll notice it then. But in the middle of the night, when it seems it goes out the most,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't notice till you woke up in the morning and you could hear the faint hum of your generator out there.
That's awesome.
But everything, all your lights will be working, water will work, heat will be on.
So the generators you guys are doing are the whole home systems.
Mhm.
Like, and that, I think that's what I want to look at anyways. I mean, that to me is the only way to go when, you want to kind of just keep your lifestyle the way that it is.
Yeah.
We're not talking about days and days of outages, but,
Mhm.
even in that situation, this thing would run my house for days.
Yeah. Yep.
So
They are the best option, is to go ahead and do the whole house and get that automatic transfer switch put in with the generator.
is there a brand you guys recommend or use?
We use Generac.
Okay. What's the benefit to Generac?
They a good quality. All their parts and pieces that we get, the transfer switch and the generator. I've lost count of how many I've installed and hooked up, and we haven't had really any issues. From the factory, everything seems to be good. Their tech support, they're pretty easy to get a hold of when you have an issue. There's several people around that that come out and do the warranty type stuff that you can come out and do, and they have their warranty and to fix those little things. But in all reality, over the years, that's only been a handful of times with all that I've hooked up.
And just so I understand, just went out and looked. Obviously, my panel's on my garage side,
Hmm.
right? So we're going to need to put a switch in there.
Yep.
But my gas line is on the other side of the house.
Yeah.
And so the benefit to this thing is it will run off the gas.
Hmm.
I don't have to put petrol in it or,
Yeah. Nope.
fuel. I don't have to go out and do any of that. The gas line will feed it. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it basically just, you don't even know that it's happening.
Yeah.
It
No.
just switches over.
Yep.
So Travis, let me talk to you. And the reason that I think I prefer a whole home is, I've got buddies that tried to do this the inexpensive way, right? They're the typical, I want to try and save a buck guys, and they're out there yanking on their generator,
Hmm.
trying to get it started, hooking it into their switch, and then even in that case, they only are supporting maybe like their kitchen,
Yeah.
right? So they've like picked, oh, I want my refrigerator to still work. But, even in that case, I did have one buddy, it's like 3 winters ago, we were out for 4 days.
Yeah.
He was doing that. Well, he hadn't even considered his freezer in his garage.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so, he lost all the meat. It was like everything was done. And so, for me, is that kind of why you recommend the whole house? Is
Yeah, I do, because you don't have just those limited circuits. And we have done them, but if somebody asks, I'd push them towards a whole home. But we have done some in the past where you have 6 to 8 circuits.
mm-hmm.
So you pick your well, if you have one, furnace, and your fridge. But if it's a little bit bigger home, besides your 1,400 square foot home, like you're gonna typically have more than just one fridge in your kitchen, like your buddy. You have your freezer out in the garage,
Hmm.
maybe one or maybe two or three. I know people have 3 freezers in their
Oh, yeah.
garage full of meat.
And a beverage fridge out there
Yeah,
too, right?
yeah, exactly.
So,
So you don't have to worry about picking those and putting those in that little circuit panel for those smaller generators. This just goes ahead and covers all of that,
awesome.
and all the important things. Well, it's covering the whole home.
You and I were talking the other day, and you guys do battery backups as well.
Mhm.
So, I know there's a lot of guys out there that you got electric vehicles now, you've got some different things. Will this generator even recharge like the Tesla batteries that you guys are using or installing and things like that?
Yeah, so if you did the generator and the batteries, you can hook them all up. If the batteries are dead and the generator starts, you can make it so it'll feed those batteries and recharge those batteries. In connection with those, like in a perfect world, you'd have it all set up. You never have to worry, wouldn't have to worry about, backup power for a long time. The nice thing with a generator versus a battery is, the batteries will eventually die. If you don't
Hmm.
have power coming in, the power's still off, they're dead and they're done until they get down to that percentage. But a generator, 4, 5, 6, 2 days, like as long as the gas is still running, your
You're
generator
good
is
to
still
go.
running.
Budget wise, what's somebody looking at to get one installed? Like just maybe a variable.
And
Probably
that's
depends on the house
yeah, it
size.
depends on the house size, depends on, we do a 26 kW generator.
Hmm.
So it depends on the house size, but typically even more so it depends on where the generator is going to sit in relation to the service and the meter in the panel, and also the gas, because we need to decide and pick a spot what's going to work best for everybody, and what our options are, which every house is a little different.
And that's going to affect the cost because if I've got to run a gas line
Yeah.
or if I've got to run the power like,
Hmm.
500 feet compared to 10
Exactly.
feet, that's going to be a
Yeah.
difference.
So if I was able to put the generator and the transfer switch right by the meter in the panel, it's all super close there. I have a very limited amount of wire. Some houses, if the gas meter ends up being on that same side, it's right there real close. Like, so that'll be your cheapest,
Yeah, most
scenario, the
inexpensive
most
route.
inexpensive scenario, but in other houses where they're on separate sides, then the gas or our generator cable needs to go to the other side of the house, which will add cost. So you're, for an easy, quick, simple one with everything on the right side, same side, you're probably looking around 13,000
Awesome.
with the generator.
And peace of mind,
And
right?
peace of mind. Yeah.
3 daughters that wake up with bathrooms ready to rock
Yep.
and roll. And
Yeah. And my dad, up at the farm, he's up towards Swan Valley, and power goes out there all the time.
yep.
All the time. So same thing, freezer's full of meat. As much as that power goes off, who knows how much meat he would have lost over the years if he didn't have a generator to run all that.
Yeah, he was making me laugh the other day. He was telling a story about at Christmas the power was out on that whole strip and he pulls up and the house is
Yeah.
blazing, every light's
Yeah.
on and
Yep.
the rest of everybody else is just
The
dark.
whole neighborhood's dark, but he's
Yeah.
got his Christmas lights on.
Yeah, he's just cranking away. So show off,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look at
Awesome.
me. Look at my house.
That's right. Cool. Well, thanks for coming out today, man. Appreciate it.
course.
And really appreciate you guys getting this done for me.
Yeah, anytime.